Voila!
And we are, I think, live.
Oh, how exciting we are. It says 8 seconds in.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's it. Mark, nice to see you again. I see you have a
Anna!
change of scenery. Welcome
Absolutely.
back.
Well, I ended up with a flat phone tonight, so I've ended up that I had to ditch to the house and not the tractor. Of all the things the tractors have got, they don't have a telephone charger.
Could you not like invent something to, modern
Do you know
day?
what? And I'll be honest, it's probably in there. I'm just too old to find it.
Well, nice to have you back anyway. Nice to have you
My
back.
pleasure.
This pretty much becomes our little a farming show, isn't it? Every week or every fortnight, isn't it?
I think what's exciting about it, and I think it goes to show just how the swing of popularity around the concerns we both have about the food supply is definitely waking the public up. And I think we've seen the numbers increase show by show, and I think that's exciting because for me, and I know for yourself, for me, I can talk about a million things, but the food is my passion, and that's the bit what really concerns me for my family. So for me to know I'm waking more people up, it's just Christmas come early.
Yeah, I think the food is, isn't it? We can't live without food like we can't do without water, isn't it? And I think it's very nice to see. Once we seem to be touched on the subject, and there seems to, because every week or so we cover different parts, but there's still, everything's so related. But it takes such a long time to, if we're talking about debating things or discussing things or trying to not to educate people, but just enlighten people, the certain things that we have on the background that we know. It's a great thing, isn't it? So
absolutely.
But anyway, first of all, wanted to say thank you for everybody for tuning in. People are still joining in now, and of course, congrats to you, Mark, for 2,000 subscribers. Well done.
Thank you, Anna. It's interesting because I know we'll end up with a load of people viewing tonight who are not subscribers, and it's a shame because people follow us because they see the videos come up and they see it advertised and so forth, but then don't subscribe. So guys, please hit the subscribe button tonight and get Anna's numbers up.
And not just mine, is yours. It's so important. I think the guys that watch generally maybe not just comprehend the importance of when you get the subscribers, the YouTube kind of pushes the channel forwards. And of course, with yourselves, you are honestly the key point of the farming thing. So much information. Obviously we share this and we're trying to get people, encouraging people to share the same stuff, but having people subscribing to your channels and then forwarding the videos or sharing the videos, the same as with my channel. The whole idea is it's not personal gain, it's because we literally earn very little, if anything at all, is to spread the word and trying to make sure people say, oh, how can we help, to we want to do stuff. So one of the things is subscribe to our channels and just forward the videos and our chats from the past as well to other people, so we can kind of spread the word.
Definitely. I think there also has to be added to that, Anna, that one of the things that I've noticed on for the YouTube algorithms and the AI dealing with it is, people, if you're watching this tonight, don't only subscribe, but put your comments about what we're talking about below, because that makes a massive difference to the views going up. And again, sharing it and everything else. And it's all share the knowledge, share the knowledge, share the knowledge. Yeah, anyway, Anna, so, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, the thumbnail might have been a giveaway, isn't it? About cows fighting too much and our food is not growing. So, what shall we go on first? Shall we, first of all, let's cover because we had a lot of questions on the previous subject, on the previous video with Anna about the milk and things like that. So if you guys haven't seen the previous chats, so go into the live chat part of the channel, you can see us chatting to Mark for the past couple times, 3 times, isn't it? And one of them was milk, right? And I must say I'm continuing my experiment with the fake milk. And I must say to Mark, one of your thing was to encourage people to to progress into your 5
strive for 5.
Make your changes, okay? And I'm like, it's really hard, and I felt like where we are, I couldn't find anything. And would you explain to just quickly to the people saying try for 5 to what you're trying to achieve, and I'll then say what I've done.
The strive for 5 came out of something which we used to do years ago with Party Plan, and that was to find 5 things every day that build your business. So I just thought with bit of an update of that with what's going on around the world, find 5 things every day that take you away from the current BS system that we all want to step away from. So, you know, food is an easy one because, you know, you don't have to go to a supermarket. There is other places you can buy your fresh produce from, especially whether that's a farm shop, you know, a farmer's market, a provisions market, you know, a fruit and veg stall on the side of the road, farm, whatever it might be. You know, there's plenty of places that you can get it from. And the same with groceries, and then some great online shops as well, you know, which are out there, you know, that you can, I'm sure we can put some links in at the end for these. Good Food Network is definitely one of them. And there's loads of things out there where people can step away from the system for food. One of the biggest ones we did was for our company. We used to buy all of our fuel from Tesco's, and we stopped going to Tesco's for the fuel and started going to an independent store. So now we spend all that money with an independent store. Yeah, it's still in the background. We know there's some big company in the background making the petrol, but it doesn't matter. From our side, we've taken the collateral of £2,000 a month away from the supermarkets. You know, and so there's all these things, you know, that we can do among ourselves, and they could be the silliest little things. What you think, you know, if that's, you know, you're going down the road and you see some eggs on the side of the road for sale, buy them eggs as opposed to getting them out of the supermarket. There's just so many things in the course of a week you can do, all little things that take all that finances away, and that's where I think the power lies for all of us guys, is taking their money away. That's they thrive on money. Let's just take it away.
Yeah, it's few us do, like, little bits at the time. And I said to you, like, on the previous chats, and the guys would watch them, like, I'm living in the middle of nowhere, but I'm like, oh, I can't really see a lot of things. But by doing the research again, I'm like, we all busy people. Like, I work, I have a child, you know, we all have things that we occupy our lives with. And I'm like, well, I really would want to do this. And of course, as a prepping thing, like we said, tins and everything else, yes, we buy in the supermarket. However, hallelujah, after your, not say pressure, but after your encouragement, we found not that far away actually is a milk, fairly new place that opened up that they do the milk disbursement, if that makes sense.
In a dispenser. Yeah.
It's like they have a cute little setup. They have a little trailer which is painted, but that's not in use, but it's there as a advertisement type thing. But you have a little booths, and you come in there and you have your price list, kind of basic one, you know, printed up with the prices and everything else. And then you have your milk bottles. You have to buy a glass jars first, bottles. We're not sure whether, haven't experimented whether we can bring our own yet, whether it's a weight. Do you think? Because we're not sure whether there's the weight.
No, it's done by the measurement. It's done by the measurement of the milk. All of those dispensers work on the same philosophy. So most of the people, when I had a farm shop before, we used to have the trailer what pulled up every Saturday for fresh milk, and it was so well supported. But most people used to just bring their bottle, put in. I think it was £2.20 a litre. I think it was. They put in the £2.20, or, you know, click the card and press the button, and the bottle would fill up. It makes no difference what bottle it is.
Oh, that's brilliant. But
I think what the bottles are there for more than ever, Anna, is the fact that mostly when you get there, you go, oh, I forgot the damn bottles.
Yeah, but they're great. They're glass. They're a glass, and they have brands on them. It was like, they're amazing. It was £2.50 for a bottle by itself, glass, and then £2.25 for a 500ml, and then they pay like £1.30 for a litre. And like, they're branded. They're really, really cool. And they have the milk ability to actually add on some inabus. It come up really pink, but point is, you can have your normal milk, or you can have a milkshake with some additional flavor. And it was lovely. Our little one loved it. Her husband loved it. It was great. And it's like, oh my God. And again, only thanks to us talking about it, spreading the thing. Because if you just drive by, and that's the whole encouragement for the people, there are probably quite a few of them there. But unless you physically see one, or somebody tells you about one, you wouldn't really know. But do some research online. This is one of the things we can do and find. So now we're sold on that. That's it. We're not buying the milk anywhere else. I don't do milk anyway.
Fantastic.
But little one's like, oh yeah, I want a milkshake. It's like, it's a flavored milk. No, it's a milkshake. So this is a milkshake, and it's great. It's there, and it's perfect. And at the same time as well, striving for 5. Believe this or not, randomly again, we talked, because it's a half term, so we took a little one to is a castle. I'm not going to say where it is, but anyway, nonetheless, it's got a little cafe, but they have like a butcher that kind of supports the shop, if that makes sense. And you can buy literally like not half a cow, but it's £150 for a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
So suddenly, for just going somewhere and just being there, you're like, okay, you realize there's so much more stuff available next to you
Absolutely.
that
And I
people
think
don't realize.
the problem is, Anna, we've been so used to going into supermarkets and so programmed to go in supermarkets that we've already, in our head, we've already done the shopping. We go to whichever one it is of the main 5 we go to. So in our head, we block ourselves off to that stuff. And it's not until you know, sort of set up your reciprocal activators that you start going ding, 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 and start homing into all these things. And it's great because, you know, like you said, you found 2 things within a week, you know, and it's like, so, you know, how many more things is there out there? You'll be driving, you know, take the little to school, whatever it might be, and you're suddenly like, oh, I didn't know that, you know, and it's suddenly, you know, then you can pass the info on to friends and family as well, and it just before they know where they are, they've got an extra 20 customers, and it keeps them going. And I think that is where, you know, for the likes of a supermarket, if gain 20 customers or lose 20 customers makes no difference to them at all. For one of the small providers, that can be make or break, and I think that's really important that people support them.
Yeah, but of course it is the part of is the price. Of course, is inevitably it is going to be it is unfortunately a little bit higher, but if you can afford to, and it's one of those things. But to be fair, if you compare especially if you say if we don't have to buy our own, say, milk bottles, go there, £1, I think £1.30 was for a litre, which was it 2 pints, I think.
Yeah,
it's not bad because the organic milk, which is, we know is not organic, and I have been I'm continuing my test of the milks. Like I have another one. I've added on the organic homogenized, whatever that word is, sorry. But yeah, and then we're gonna test that milk that we purchased there. We're gonna see what effect is gonna be. But one of those, the homogenized, am I right saying that?
Yeah, homogenized, yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
It's literally separated within a day. And I know for people who are not sure what this means, but if you have a look at your organic milk, which is technically, it's no longer organic because it's been fiddled by people. And the idea is they go through the chemical process that make it texture more creamy and more palatable. Not being funny, but it's organic milk. Leave it be. We don't really need to make organic milk more palatable. We buy things for being organic, for being
if you don't like it, don't drink it.
No, exactly. But do not put this through a chemical process, because to me, that's no longer makes it organic. You're fiddle with this, you change the texture, you change the structure. It's wrong. It's wrong. And only if people read in the back, they'll tell you. And I think it's totally inappropriate.
I think it speaks volumes, doesn't it? So
certainly.
On from the milk side, we'll talk about the cow's backsides, because
let's do meat.
And you know, and they generally tend to say from a cow's backside you get BS, and that is about the long and the short of it. Now, over in, I think it's the Netherlands have already bought this in, and I know some of the Scandinavian countries are now bringing this in. That they're going to be fined equivalent in British money of £100 per cow that they own, because of the
it's not fine, it's taxed, isn't it? Or fine or tax. Pretty much.
So every cow you own, because it might fart and damage the environment, you're going to get taxed £100 as a green levy, because you're stopping us getting down to net zero.
The whole 0.004% of CO2 gets damaged. So 100 quid or 100 euros a cow,
I don't know how many cows there is in Europe, but they're going to raise a few quid, that's for sure. I think, go on, I was going to say, Andrew, I think what they do is they come up with ideas of things they're going to spend money on. And then they go, right, come on, boys, quickly sit around the table and come up with some ideas. We can raise some cash. And someone's come up with this, and it's just genius, you know, because it's so ridiculous. You know, you take any other animal, I could probably accept it, but a cow has 4 stomachs. By the time it's gone through there, the chances are it's pretty clean anyway.
But apparently they burp as well. Apparently, when they chew,
well,
you know.
Do you know, that's something I've never ever heard. And I've worked around the farm like all my life, and we've had cows and so, but I've never heard it. I don't remember Grandad ever saying to me when he had a herd of 500, "Oh, be careful, them cows burp when you're near them." I don't ever remember it happening. I'll have to get a psychic in to do it a little bit with a hat and just ask the question. So I think personally, it's no more than the tax revenue. I think it's just ridiculous. Just totally. I just find it difficult to believe that anyone is taking it seriously.
I know.
Do
But
you know what I mean?
Some people do, Mark. Some people must do. But why them? Out of all countries, I think we'll be the first one to really try to introduce that, right? Surely. Why? It's like, are we going to be next to follow? Do you think we're going to be?
It's definitely on DEFRA's cards. Yeah, 100%. They've already threatened us with it last year. I think it will now come into play. Now we've had a change of parliament and they need to raise some cash. Red following blue normally would mean they've got money in the bank, and this time they haven't, so they're going to need to raise their own. And I think that's going to be on the definitely on the horizon.
Do you think because I read somewhere there's apparently to do with the age of the cow? So do you reckon they're just going to do this regardless of the age of the cow? Because apparently cow lives for or the optimal age is 7 or 10 years. And yet they slaughter them at, oh my God, 17, 18 months.
Yeah, thereabouts.
So do you think that the money thing is going to be, or the tax thing for the cow farts is going to be aimed at make them slaughter them quicker, or tax from the day one regardless to get rid of the whole
there's
cow
two things they're
altogether?
trying to achieve here. There's two things they're trying to achieve, Anna. We know they're trying to get rid of dairy. So the dairy comes from the older cows. Right. It doesn't come from the calves, does it? No. So it comes from the older cows. So what they'll do is they'll tax the older cows because that will encourage farmers to stop producing milk. Yeah. Now, rather than farmers thinking about, and I'm no milk expert. I don't know how many gallons of milk a cow produces in the course of a year, but how many 100 or 1,000 it is. To me, if a cow costs you an extra £100 a year, just put that on each litre. If it's an extra 10 pence a litre for milk, as a consumer, I don't care.
Makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
What I want is good quality milk. So for me, I don't care. I just tax me all you like. I still want fresh milk. For me, I'm sitting next to the fridge here, so I'll just be conscious. My friend.
That's a convenient one, isn't it?
I mean, my friend has she glass bottles. She keeps goats, and she makes sure that I'm always topped up in milk. And exactly, so I don't care what it costs. Well, I don't pay her anyway, but I give away veg. But for me, I wouldn't care if she said, "Mark, it's £2 a bottle." I'd still buy it because I want that milk. So I think that farmers have to, as we move forward, and need to look at food differently. And coming back to your point earlier, you said about the meat or the milk is slightly dearer buying it direct from the farm. Yeah. Now, it's only that way because of two things. So one is that we are led to believe that supermarkets are doing us a favour, keeping the prices low, right? Yeah. I think I've covered this on the show before, but so what happened was in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, we had all the subsidies in place. And the government paid those subsidies, European government here, paid out those subsidies to farmers to make sure that the price of food was kept low, okay? Yeah. So that money was there for the farmer to produce the food as cheap as possible. But what happened over the last 20 years is that subsidy doesn't sit with the farmer anymore. It sits with the supermarkets. So they've pushed the price of food up, albeit only a little bit, but they've pushed it up. They've pushed the farmer down. So instead of there being this big bit in here, what was there for the general public to benefit from, it isn't there anymore. The supermarkets, that's how they're earning billions of pounds every year, because all of that extra money, what was pumped in by the government, is no longer with the farmer or the consumer. It's all with the damn supermarket. That's where the problem lies. So we have that as a really big problem. And I say the two aspects of that. So I think personally, if you're buying food from a farm, you have to buy into what food is really worth. Yeah. Right? So you're not buying into the fact of the BS of what supermarkets lead you to think it's worth, because they're playing about with the subsidies they're getting in, and they've got billions being pumped into them. So if they give away 10% of that to force the price down a little bit so that you think a farm is expensive, they've won the game. So people are not necessarily buying into, you know, when you come to buy from a farmer, as a member of the public, buy the whole concept that you're supporting the farmer. You know, that fakeness, what comes from a supermarket price, isn't a real price of what value is worth. You know, Anna, I spoke to farmers last year when cauliflowers were £2.20 in every little Hertz, and farmers were getting paid 21 pence for them.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. One thing I was going to say, bring up to this, talking about it, slightly outside of our meat and cows and the stuff not growing, which we'll come back to that in a minute. But my point is obviously, and I'm pretty sure many of us actually wanted to know, and they do actually, but you know, Christmas time and Easter time, when every little herd do the vegetables, and they do vegetables for 15p a bag. And last year we didn't have onions, but we had the potatoes, carrots, and parsnips. And I picked some up and and I dehydrated a lot, which is one of the things I was going to actually, and somebody mentioned to you and asked you whether you considered for the things, but we'll again come back to this later. But the point is, when those vegetables are 15p a kilo, and then there's a lot of waste because people wouldn't, because they sit in the bottom of the pallet, they still sell quick, but they're still in the other pallet. By the time if you come to buy this around closer to the Christmas time, whatever day, they kind of stand there for a little bit and again a bit manky. Who pays the price, right, of that 15p? Because I bet you farmer didn't say, oh yeah, let's reduce our veg to like, I'm happy to get like 1p a kilo for that. They didn't. They wouldn't. Surely not.
No.
So that's little hurts.
The farmers don't want to accept it. The farmers have to accept it, because all the supermarkets do is say to them, we're going to run this promotion. Right. We need you to foot the bill. A big percentage of this is footed by the farmer, I will say, and I know this from experience. Yeah. You're going to foot the bill. We're going to have, you know, let's say 10,000 packs of carrots every hour for the next 28 days. Yeah. And you have to supply that at, you know, 8 pence.
No, not be funny, but so say if the supermarket sell this for 15p, so say farmer will get 8p a kilo.
Yeah, possibly 8 pence. Yeah,
even potentially even less.
So what you have to understand with this, Anna, is that the farmer might not want to take it, but the farmer doesn't have a choice. They're under contract. No. So what they do is when they sign the contract to say that they'll supply Tesco's or Waitrose, Asda, whoever it might be, when they're going to supply that contract, they might say, well, we're going to give you 28 pence. And the farmer might look at it and go, that's a really good price. Okay. So they're working on the principle that they're going to sell enough at 28 pence to cover what they sell at 8 pence.
Right.
But I'll give you an idea, Anna, and I swear this on my children's life. And so I used to collect all the food waste from Tesco's in Bury St Edmunds, right? And I'll name the store. And we had one Christmas a phone call to say, can you come and collect some waste veg? And I got there and there was pallets upon pallets upon pallets of vegetable waste, right? It hadn't even seen the supermarket floor. No. What they'd done, this was over Christmas, right? So a week before Christmas, they were already asking me to clear the waste veg that hadn't even gone to the shop floor because they had so much stock, they didn't know what to do with it. I cleared 12 pallet loads of vegetables, which, bear in mind, that's probably losing the farm, I don't know, but let's say £150 a pallet.
Yeah. So Mark,
I've taken 12 pallets away, coming to £1,800 profit away from a farm, right?
Yeah.
And it hasn't even seen the shop floor. That is damn well criminal.
Yeah. Does the one of the questions again come up a little while back, not recently, but does the farmer lose money? So if the say Tesco's or any other supermarket can't sell the food, so it goes down as waste, or that hasn't even made it into the shop floor, does the supermarket then bill the farmer still for their food, or because they haven't sold it, they still pay the farmer their little 8p a kilo? Who does the farmer lose all of that stuff that's not get sold?
And what do you know about charities?
I volunteer for the food collection from Tesco's as well.
Work with me here. So I ran a CIC.
Yeah.
So if I went to Tesco's and collected their waste, they would write it off against tax.
Yeah.
So
but would they still not pay the farmer?
They won't pay the farmer and claim it all get back against tax.
Right.
They're on a win-win every time. The supermarkets never lose. So they would quite happily write it off. They were better to write it off because so here's a classic example, right? So if they put the vegetables in the shop and they're doing a special offer and they say they're on 15 pence,
yeah,
the retail value of that is 15 pence, right? If they get stuck with a load and sell it at 3 pence, they get 3 pence for it. Now, if they give it to me as a charity, they're going to write 15p off against tax. If they sell it in store for 3p, they only get 3p back and can't write anything off. So they're better off giving the sodding stuff away. It's ridiculous.
Like it's
so flawed. The farmers are both ways. They get it both ways. And the supermarkets cannot lose. They're getting so much off against tax and they're getting so much back from the farmers. It's untrue. The supermarkets are just rife with it. You know, they do not care. They don't have any reason to care. Why would you care if you're better off if you pick A or pick the red tablet, pick the blue tablet? It doesn't matter, does it?
I know. The trouble is though, because of the cost of everything, obviously it's so through the roof. People like, even myself, when I go shopping, it's like, oh, veg 15p, I'll buy a lot and I will do stuff because, you know, things cost so much money. We're trying, especially if we're trying to prepare for what we're trying to prepare people for, you kind of want to go up and buy stuff, but it just feels, as much as we say we don't want to go there and to support this, the supermarket stuff, because it's there, you're like, well, I've got to have it. It's still in your little world. We still got to support our little tiny little bubble world of our own families and be able to do this.
Yes,
because
I agree. I fully accept that, Anna. Fully accept that.
It's a vicious circle, isn't it? A vicious circle of.
It's how they've stacked it up. Clever people come up with this, Anna. It's not, these are not, laymen coming up with these ideas. This is clever people. They know exactly when they give something away. I'll give you a classic example on this. So if years ago we were running a company that could, if we sold something for £100, we had to pay 20 pence VAT on it. Sorry, £20 VAT, yeah? So if we sold 2 of them, there was £40 VAT owed. Now, if we sold one and gave one away free, we had to pay the full VAT on the second item. So if we sold it for £100, we'd still owe £40 in VAT. However, if I sell the first one at full price and the second one for 1 pence, I only pay the VAT on the second one on the 1 pence.
Yeah.
So I'm better off charging 1 pence for it than giving it away.
Yeah.
And that's how they work. All of these things are cleverly worked out in the background by clever people who go, if we do this, we're better off. The public think they're getting a great deal here, but we're better off. And that's all it's about. Yeah.
Terrible, isn't it? It's absolutely terrible.
It is.
But
so
anyway,
next topic.
Next thing was, let's talk about meat, right? That was one of the subject, wasn't it? We're talking about meat. And we just started on the cows fatting too much, right? And
so they're going to cut them all up.
Yeah. So what would you do out of interest? I'm pretty sure, I've seen some people saying, well, if they do, well, I'm just going to eat it first and just forget the rest. It's kind of like. I don't know. I think there's so much on this side going to change. I interestingly had a conversation. I was in the shop earlier and had a conversation with one of the customers. I was talking about we're going to put some more fridges in, and once we've got the fridges and freezers in place, we'll be introducing meat. You should know where you're going to get your meat. In your shop? In your
Yeah, in our farm shop. So I said, what would be great on that is, we've got several local farmers that are interested in producing meat, especially for us, so we'll know where it's come from, the provenance, and we'll know that it's not full of antibiotics, whatever it might be. So she said to me, first thing she said to me, well, don't think I'm going to be eating any of that printed meat from Bill Gates. I was like,
that was the next thing we're going to bring it up to.
So I said, sorry. She said, this printed meat, she said, I'm not going to eat printed meats. I'm not going to eat meat grown in a lab. She said, what's got human stem cells in it. I'm not going to eat meat what's made from cockroaches. I'm not going to do it. She said, I want proper meat. And I was like, and this is a random person that I've got no idea who she is, and she's telling me, and I was like,
that's amazing, isn't it, Mark? It's amazing that some people are. Sorry, I dropped my pencil. I need to fidget with something. Sorry. Yeah, it's amazing though, isn't it?
I think that people genuinely are waking up. I was in the shop earlier and I had a couple come in there and I said, oh, hi guys, how you doing? I know them from, my previous farm. And she said, "Oh, you happened to pop up on Facebook the other day." She said, "And I watched one of your videos." She said, "Oh, we'll come over to the shop and see you." So that's where the power of it sits. Yeah, but they're keen to buy locally sourced produce. So I went through what we're doing with the shop and how local farmers are getting involved, local food producers, and that's what they're looking for. So I think the more the public demand that from farmers, the more farmers will step up to the plate and start producing more stuff that the public wants. So I think it's a double-edged sword. They've both got to want each other. But yeah, I think on the meat side, I think the interesting thing is that there's lots of attacks on the standard meat production. So we've got veganism, which sorry if I offend any vegans now, I don't care. I love meat, right? I'm a meat eater. I could have meat 3 or 4 times a day happily. You've got to have real meat, and anyone who thinks that meat grown in a lab from stem cells or printed meat, well, I was looking into this printed meat, and they actually use proper protein. So I think we said about this last time, the animal fats and protein. Well, where do they think they're going to get that from if there's no animals?
Yeah. I don't think we touched on this, but we're gonna touch on the printed meat and the lab grown meat. But yeah, sorry, go on the veganism stuff.
But yeah, so so they from their side, that someone said to me about vegan, I eat tofu. If you want to talk about cruelty to animals, be a vegan. Because I tell you now, to produce a field of tofu, you have to kill everything, every insect, every cell, every mammal, every snake, mouse, bird, whatever it might be. If it touches that crop, it's no good. So they have to literally eradicate everything for miles.
Yeah.
And then they want to tell me that I can't kill a cow. What?
Yeah, I know. But the thing is, though, with obviously vaguely just touching on the veganism stuff. No offense to people that do, but the fact is, there was the couple of cases and incidents where parents were so adamant that they were vegan, they fed the baby with the vegan food only, and unfortunately, baby died because we're not designed, especially at the young age, to just be a veganism. It's been put upon us. It's been a personal choice for people to follow a certain.
Has it been a personal choice, though, Anna? Has it been a personal choice? Has it been, though? And the reason I say has it been, because it's been very much pushed as an agenda. And the reason I say, my ex-son-in-law was one of the people who worked locally as a vegan to close down all the abattoirs. Bless him. Love him to bits as a person, but what he did was absolutely destructive. They closed down the abattoirs. They used to go to the cattle markets and cause grief. All of that was funded by one person in America who owns a computer company. It was all funded by them, right? So was it personal choice when someone was helping to fund you, when someone was pushing an agenda down? Is it really personal choice, or is it, something that's been put in your head that, you watched the wrong film? His was, he watched one film where they spoke about how cruel the animal, it was. I agree. No one can take away how barbaric that side of the industry is. But it is what it is. If you're in this country and you buy British meat, it is the best produced meat you'll buy anywhere in the world, without any doubt at all. It's well farmed. Going through the abattoirs is the best it's going to be in the world, down to the butchery. Everything is the best it can be in this country. When people get led to believe, let's say, like, I know one of the supermarkets, I won't say which one, but were ratherly embarrassed the other year, weren't they, when the horse was found in their burgers and their meat?
Oh, yeah. It was more than one, wasn't it? More than one.
Yes, it was. And you're looking and you think to yourself, all of that meat's coming in from overseas with no provenance. You don't know where it's come from, how it's been reared, what it's been fed with, what it's been injected with. You don't know nothing about it. Don't damn well buy it. As consumers need to really step their plate up. And you've got to check when you buy the meat in that, Anna, when you check the packaging, if it says, packaged in the UK, it means it wasn't bloody grown here.
Yeah, we mentioned this on the last video. Can I ask you a question? Have you tried a chevron, which is aka a horse? Or I think it was a chevron or whatever is in the France. Anyway, have you tried?
I have. It tastes just like, to me, it tastes just like beef.
Yeah. Do you know what? We, funnily enough, sorry, we're just digressing a bit, but might as well we're sharing the knowledge. The whole idea, we talk about this so people, know, but nonetheless, at the time when just before the issue came out about the horse meat being in the burgers and everything else, they were like, oh my God, it's like, it's a big deal. It's a big deal because they haven't told us that was in there. Generally in France, this is a whole half a counter of horse meat.
Absolutely.
As a thing. Yeah, it's like to them, it's normal. It's like Chevrolet. The first time I ever went in there, like Chevrolet, whatever is said in there, like, oh, what the hell is that? And you go, oh, it's a bit of a horse. So, like,
I always find it interesting when people say, like, what do you mean you ate a bunny rabbit? Why wouldn't you eat a bunny rabbit?
Yeah. But anyway, so I tried the horse. We had to, and it was one of those things. And then the whole thing came out. Apparently, it's been obviously fed to us anyway. And I'm like, generally we eat this before, clearly, and it was fine. But that's when you physically sit there and say, oh, this is a horse, and I was sitting there and cutting a steak, I'm like, it's good because it's been pointed out, and I know clearly because we physically bought a horse. It was just that mental thing. But again, you would not know the difference. If somebody said to me, like at the time we had a debate at the table because it was kind of thing to do, again, my thing is all about food. You debate it, you try this, you got to, because if you talk about food, you got to know what you're talking about. And it's like, if somebody haven't told me this was a horse, I'm like, yeah, nice bit of steak. But somebody said it's a horse, I'm like, I was a bit, but it tasted just like a normal meat.
It's interesting. I ate snake years ago, and it just tastes like chicken. I mean, I had crocodile tasted like chicken. I've had ostrich, it tastes like chicken.
Yeah, crocodile does, and the sharks, very close.
I think the reality is, if you're a meat eater, you just like meat.
Or fish, yeah.
Fish. Yeah, I'm game.
Yeah.
I think people are touchy about some things. I mean, I think horses are something that, from the farm I'm on, we produce massive amounts of hay and haylage, which all goes to the horse industry. So, I've got everyone's address in case the food runs out,
Well, yeah, you got to do what you got to do. But then so the thing is then, right? So for horses and stuff aside, we're talking about obviously the lab grown meat. And there's a massive,
yes.
I don't know how many of our viewers are knowing about the lab grown meat, and obviously then a 3D printed meat, which is a slightly different things. Excuse me. But the whole thing has been going on for a very, very long time. And I think, do you know what? I can't actually remember the good few years back, but I did this on a video, and apparently the first lab grown burger, it costed $250,000 to grow it. And the whole agenda, like you say, the Billy the Goat trying to push the agenda of lab growing this, and obviously the crickets and everything else we want to eat. But again, unless you actually do the research, that some people think maybe it's a good idea to help the environment. But the whole idea is actually, so first of all, it costed $250,000 to produce the first steak. The little chambers that they grow the lab grown meat take a lot of energy, and they produce, guess what, a lot of CO bloody too. Like a lot. So when they're trying to push this to you or to the general public, saying, this is going to be really good, we're going to be like, and
carbon neutral meat, right.
It's
get yourself
not going to be carbon neutral because it just makes it so much worse. But it's going to take about freaking 100 years probably for them to become a carbon neutral production thing. But so in the meantime, then we're going to kill all the cows and then produce the lab meat in the things that produce so much more CO2, then you're going to totally then cloud the skies, or what, like seriously.
That is the game plan. This is the stupidity of it. And it's not until you look into everything, Anna, whether that's electric cars, whether it's solar panels, whether it's cows farting, everything, when you look into it and start breaking it down and you pull it to bits, there's none of it stacks up.
No,
none of it is better for the planet. If you read the 2030 agenda, it clearly states that by 2050 we will have 50% of the planet completely unused by humans. The only reason they're doing that I was going to say the only reason they're doing that is because they're going to mine 50% of the world without us realizing that's where the commodities are coming from.
Yeah,
that's what they're doing.
Thing. We want to spread people to actually. We're not speculating. It exists in the public domain, so we want to point the people to do their own research to understand.
100%. Yes, very important.
Just the people just find their own things. They understand what the whole agenda is all about. But the same thing, coming back to the lab-grown meat, the whole chamber to produce one steak, I'm pretty sure I read, it's approximately like 1.5 meters long. It's a massive, like, oil tank size thing. If that, like, just to produce like one steak thing, it's absolutely crazy. And obviously then agenda with the crickets and everything else. But have you seen on the new thing as about the company, about UK company making now or producing the lab-grown meat for a dog food?
Yeah, well, I saw that there was a company in America making it and shipping it to the UK. And actually, one of my customers spoke to me about that yesterday. That she was looking for somewhere to buy a raw carcass because and I put her onto someone who does deer shooting, and she was looking for raw carcasses for her animals, for hunting dogs and things. And she was saying, "There's no way I'm ever going to feed my dogs this." And I said, "I didn't even realise that was available yet." She said, "Yeah." She said, "I saw it on the news yesterday." She said, "They're going to be shipping it in from America, this lab-grown meat, to shred up and so forth to put in the dog food." Well, that's where they started with it. I think it's Sweden. Sweden is one of the countries that you can already buy lab-grown meat in restaurants. So Italy completely banned it. Italy said there's no way we're having that trash.
They tried the cricket flour and that in the restaurants, and that did not go well.
No.
Italians are like, "Mama, no, this is the mama food." So that didn't sound Italian. Sorry.
So you've got that situation where that people are going, "I don't really want that," but will they accept it when there is nothing else? Because if this agenda is allowed to play out, don't me wrong, I don't think they're going to win this. I don't, in any way, shape, or form. I think the resistance to this will become so severe they'll have to back down. But if you get people hungry enough and then take away the things they really love, if you then give them an alternative, they'll soak up the alternative because they think it's the next best thing. Well, it isn't. I can absolutely assure you. And what concerns me, Anna, is the fact that I was talking to several farmers this week on different seminars and conferences and that. And one of the things that we were saying was when the stock animals have gone, which you breed from, then we're in trouble. And over the last couple of years, lots of the stock animals have been bought up again by, Billy Goat Gruff. And he's bought all that up to destroy it, nothing else. All of the prize premier, animals that are out there in the market, they've been buying them up tenfold to eliminate the bloodlines being there in the future to produce meat for us. And that's, if someone comes along and says to you as a farmer, I'd like one of your prize bulls, and you say, well, he's worth £2,000, and they say, well, I'll give you £4,000 for it. Yeah. You're going to take it. Now it's gone. And it hasn't gone to another farm to be stud. It's just gone. Scary.
But is it because people don't realise what's actually happening, or because all the farmers are in a desperate position to just take any offer because they all been just financially suffocated, or with all the rules and legislations, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
But can you explain then? No, so sorry, not asking you to explain, but the fact with the lab-grown dog food and stuff, because it costs so much to produce, how on earth the dog food is cheaper than a human food, right? So how on earth are they producing this, and it's at the moment sort of put forward as a dog food? Is that the offcuts of the, do you reckon, of the little trial thing, or why?
It might be. I would think it's more likely that they're just losing money on it. And you think if you've got an agenda you want to push in, if it's worth, let's say, I don't know what the pet food industry in this country is worth, but let's say it's worth, I don't know, 5 billion. And you could find a way to completely control that.
Yeah.
Would you spend 10 billion on it to get that first pit of meat growing and produced, would you care if you spent 10 billion knowing that you've got 25 years at 5 billion a year coming in?
No, of course you would. Yeah,
and that's what they're doing. They don't care what it costs to produce it to get it off the ground. They're banking on the fact that eventually they will buy up all the companies that produce other stuff, so that you'll have no other option.
Yeah,
I'm seeing it with I was going to say, I've seen it with the flour mills and all sorts over the last year.
Yeah,
that they're just shutting all the places down. All the animal feed places are closing down. Animal feed. I was talking to one of the guys the other day, one of the dads at football, and he was saying exactly that. Works for one of the big mills where they make all the animal feed. They're closing down because they haven't got any work, because all the farmers that produce big amounts of food, animals, pigs especially locally, are all shut down.
Yeah. Do you know, my thought was also with kind of, when you generally kind of comprehend the things that are happening, or you're trying to comprehend it the best as you can with the meat situation, and obviously the dog food, cat food generally comes in the tins. And do you know the reason why the dog food, cat food in the tins have to be acceptable for a human consumption? Apparently there's a legislation there that any dog food, cat food that you can buy in the tin has to be acceptable for a human consumption. And apparently this is due to, if, for example, if you're blind or hard of seeing, that if you actually purchase or by mistakenly pick up a tin of food, dog food, cat food, it's okay for you to consume this. So apparently there's the laws there to say that this is okay. So when they produce stuff, it has to be acceptable for human consumption. So my thoughts were like, well, okay, so we're talking about the lab processed meat, so they're going to put this in a dog and cat food. So you're only going to take a couple of times for somebody to by mistakenly maybe pick it up and eat it and say, well, actually, well, look, they felt so great and nothing happened. So, like, do you see what I'm coming from with that? They can suddenly, well, it's good for that, isn't it? Good for dog, good, for blind person.
The minute that's exactly. Anna, you've got to bear in mind that they're thinking 50 years down the road all the time.
Yeah.
So when they brought the rule out for that, they already knew where they were going with it. That's why it was put in place.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. Absolutely guarantee it.
Just imagine though. Joe.
No, thank you. I won't be taking part, be assured.
No. You know what? I think I become like vegan if that kind of thing. Not vegan, vegetarian. Sorry, not vegan. I've never been vegan.
Yeah. Well, you won't get any dairy either because there won't be any cows.
No.
You can have cricket milk.
Yeah.
Or was it maggot?
Milk.
Was it maggot milk?
But to be fair, like, the crickets, right, and all this kind of stuff, that either's in, Singapore and stuff. I remember, right, when I was little, I was about 7, I think, we went to Singapore, and it was there, it was like, down the street, and they're frying them on the little thingies, crickets and all the bugs, and like, yeah. But then it was like, oh, this is a bit of a novelty kind of thing. If if your stomach brave enough, let's give it a go. But now it's like, yeah, this is where it's headed. You're going to be eating a cricket, This is the idea, but, anyway.
I think one of the things I find interesting is that from vegans especially on this, right, is they're quite happy that we're going to kill 1 trillion maggots to make a pint of milk, but we can't milk a cow.
Yeah. There were a couple of comments on there, wasn't there, for people like saying this, we obviously it's not natural for drinking the cow's milk because it's designed for little baby cows, that kind of thing. But my thing is, well, you can look at the eggs the same way. Sorry, chicken eggs are not, if you actually look at what the chicken's eggs are, it's not particularly if you translate this into the human terms.
You wouldn't want to eat it.
No, you don't. But people do. It's one of those things. As you said, like with the milk, we've been doing this for centuries, and the same with the eggs. So it's kind of like, well, I don't do milk. For the reason of I just when I was little, I've been forced to drink hot milk and honey when I had a cold, and it made me throw up. I cannot stand milk, so to me, milk, it's not an issue in any way, shape, or form. I don't do this in a tea or coffee. I just don't do milk altogether. But eggs, obviously, I have chicken, so I like eggs. But if I start thinking where they come from, I'm like, But people doing this for centuries.
Anna, I'll tell you something funny quickly. So we've got 4 chickens, and my partner said to me a couple of days ago, like, chickens haven't laid any eggs. I said, well, they're a bit sneaky. I said, you have to keep an eye on them because sometimes they'll go and lay them other places. And wherever one lays, they will lay. You just need to find out where that is. And so we'd gone from 4 eggs a day in the shed to 3 eggs to 2 eggs to 1 egg. And in a couple of days, no eggs. And I was like, got to find out where they're laying. So my partner found them earlier. And down the side of the house, there's a board with some straw around it to cover the pipes up for the cold weather. And they've made a nest, and there's this big heap of eggs in there, which my partner found earlier. And it's like, it's like, you little sods.
They seem to follow. Like, when you do research and they say, oh, chicken they need to have one each nesting box for like 3 or 4 chickens. But no, mine do all in the same box.
Yeah, they all do. And I think what it is because
it's
instinctively, one of them will quite happily sit on the eggs.
Yeah.
You haven't got a cockerel, they've got no reason to sit there, but they'll sit there and look after. And I've seen it with bantams, especially where bantams will get off the nest to let a chicken lay, and then the bantam will get back on the nest.
They don't call the broody chickens. There's a broody, it's a season, or not season, but a time when they do go through that. And I had one that sat on there for a long time, and for about like 30 days, I have to shush her off because they won't eat. They basically get.
No, that's right. They won't eat or drink nothing.
So you have to like be there. It's like, for goodness sake, one thing to look after kids and everything else, but not a bloody chicken. But nonetheless. But anyway, the other thing, because we are talking about the last thing, the big part was in my capitals. All my family was a veg one grow, and I think many of us probably know what we're talking about.
So, okay, my partner and I have done, this is our first year together, and we've decided to grow lots of veg on the farm this year. And, I've been growing for years. It's not something I'm uncommon with. Just to give you a little bit of a heads up so for our experience this year, so we grew broad beans. Lots of the broad beans have got beautiful pods. They've even got the bulbs in the pods. When you open them, there's nothing in them. They've got one bean right in the end.
Yeah.
Which then causes a row when you sell them in the shop, and people go, I bought 25 beans, and say, I got 25 beans back. It's like, so that we've had that to deal with. We've had the tomatoes. Normally, tomatoes are abundant. We've got loads of flowers. There's no fruit.
Yeah,
they're just really, really poor this year on the amount of tomatoes actually on there. And what is on there isn't going right. There's going to be a lot of green tomato chutney about this year, I think. That's the one thing there's going to be an abundance of. We grew aubergines. Slugs had them off to the ground. We put strawberry plants in. The deers ate them. We've had every solitary thing this year has been against us. However, what I will say is I'm not religious. However, my partner is very religious, and she quotes me things from the Bible. And one of the things which does come up time and time again is the sower kept on sowing. So what I would say to people, if you're used to setting 20 tomato plants and you're only getting a third of the amount off, next year grow 60 tomato plants, grow 100, grow whatever you need to do to end up with more than what you need.
Yeah.
It's what the importance of all this is just keep growing. Some things will grow, some things won't grow. So what? Next. I think people can get very hung up in, this year we've had a really bad year. If we now have some really good weather, everything is behind. That's without a doubt. Yeah. Right? Without a doubt, everything is a month, 6 weeks behind. But if we get a warm winter, then you're going to be able to extend the growing time from the end of September into October, November. Then it doesn't matter, because you're still going to get the same amount of produce at the other end. Things that are growing really well are growing really well. The things that aren't. Potatoes are doing fantastically here on the farm this year. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. We set a load of junk potatoes I had left over at the Fruit and Veg Wholesale Company that we should shop. We chucked them in. They've done really well. We've got an abundance of potatoes underneath them. Beautiful new potatoes now coming out of the ground. I say the tomatoes are doing well now. Courgettes, all the first courgettes that were on them, it was so wet they'd rotted off. They were just really, really bad. Right now, there's an abundance of courgettes on there.
Yeah, so you're lucky.
Stuff is now starting to come. We've had a few hot days. Stuff's now starting to grow, starting to catch up, and we're starting to get some really good results. I would say to people, don't be so deterred by the fact we can all talk about what's up in the sky and what's coming down, as a result of what's happening in the skies. Don't get hung up on it. what I will say is this winter, when you finish with your beds, cover them up with plastic.
Yeah.
And then all that nasty crap what comes down from the sky isn't going to go into the soil, right? So you keep that off the soil over the winter, and you'll keep the weeds down. Cover that ground up.
Yeah.
What we've got to do is work with what we have available to us at this point in time.
Yeah.
You know, like we've said before, Anna, no F1 seeds. Don't grow that damn rubbish. You know, there's loads of really good seed companies still out there at this point. Get out there and find them. Buy good heirloom seeds, and that stuff will germinate. F1 has been programmed not to germinate when they don't want it to. You know, everything they've done over the past 10 years to get us to this point is working. So don't take part, you know.
See, with the seed stuff, I'm gonna interrupt you just slightly there with the seeds part, because obviously the growing part, and I've done the last video about like I'm taking the matter in my own hands, and I'm building up a cover over my raised bed that I have, because I have 2 greenhouses, but I've got some outside space, and it's been trouble, and I've been almost in tears. The stuff I've been documenting my gardening thing on the YouTube, and recently, unfortunately, too, what I thought was doing well suddenly didn't do well, and things like some courgettes did really well, and then I had the powdery mildew, but it actually killed some of the courgettes, and I never experienced that before. I've gone through. I had some growing parsnips in the pot, and I'm doing this specifically for the YouTube, so you can grow stuff in the pot. But we had so much rain that I looked at this, and half of them were yellow. So I put my hand through, just brushing this through, and I saw the top parts totally separated from the bottom because it's rotted away. And I had so many other things like, oh my god! And then pumpkins. I have little pumpkins growing, and I have a little trellis thing over the pathway, and I have grown pumpkins there over the past couple of years, and they started doing well. And then suddenly I can see them going yellow on the ends, and they're dropping off. And literally, suddenly it's like something looked like it was really happy thing. Suddenly the pumpkin's there, and obviously they dropped off and they're yellow because they haven't been pollinated. So the point is, like, oh my god, I was almost crying. I was going to the stage of, I have a really small garden, or fairly small garden, and I'm trying to do the best I can to protect ourselves, and to do what is my prepping channel is to suggest to people to let's do the best we can to provide for our family. And suddenly everything doing okay slowly, but suddenly like, oh, crap, I lost my pumpkin harvest and this, and I was honestly, I really wanted to cry because it was just suddenly it's gone to shit. And then thinking about the seeds, right? Sorry, they bring them to the F1 seeds. I'm like, well, the pollination is a key for, like, pumpkins, courgettes will grow, and they develop to a certain point, and they're like, yay, they're growing, but they grow to so much, and if they have not been pollinated, and I think maybe people not aware, that they will drop off, but they will still grow initially, and then they'll drop off after they develop to a certain small amount. They'll drop off if they're not being pollinated. So initial reaction of, yay, I'm growing pumpkins or courgettes is great, but once they start rotting, yellowing, they're not being pollinated properly. So the whole idea of the bees pollinating stuff is an issue. And we know for the past couple of years, it's been a massive thing. Like I mentioned with my tomatoes a few years back. So when we're talking about the F1 seeds, I'm thinking to myself, and you mentioned this, and everybody as a prepper will say we have to have heirloom seeds. We have to have heirloom seeds because, well, they are true to the parent plant when they germinate and they grow, and that's great. But they need bees to pollinate. So, but I have cucumbers that are all female, which is F1 variety. They don't need bees. But if we have an issue with this stuff and them spraying and getting rid of bees, well, F1 seeds or hybrid seeds are the way forward. So I'm now stuck in a position as a prepper thinking, well, heirloom seeds are a good way forward because it's a good thing to do because we need to continue this. But if there's no pollinators there to do it, like I'm losing half of my harvest due to lack of pollinators, well, then my hybrid seeds are the way forward because they don't require pollination. So how on earth do you make this dilemma call? To me, I've been stocking up a heirlooms, and I'm like, do you know what? I think I have to concentrate on getting some hybrid seeds because if we don't have pollination issue resolved, hear me, it's only you can only stock up seeds for X amount of years because we have hybrids and are always, able to perceive. So what the hell do you do? How do you make a choice?
I went to pick up some honey earlier from our beekeeper.
Yeah.
And I went to pick up some honey for the shop, and I got talking to him, and I said, he said, I watched your video the other night with your bowler hat on. Well done for talking out. I said, oh, thanks very much, mate. He said, now, one thing you said on there which worried me, you said you were worried about the bees. I said, well, I am. I said, we haven't got any this year. He said, listen, there's loads of bees. I said, no, I can assure you there isn't. I've not seen any on the meadows at all, on the clover, on the, lilac bushes, nothing. There's just nothing. He said, come with me. Now I'm going to tell you something that I didn't know, Anna. So
go on.
He took me onto the field next to his house, and it's a 25-acre field, which is set with these pretty flowers for the birds.
Right.
Okay. It's alive with insects.
So
hang on,
I think I know where you're going. Go on.
Right.
I think I know where you're going to go with that.
He said, what they've done is, by planting these fields of flowers, they've made it very easy for the bees not to attend to your garden. Because for thousands of years, the bees have been going about desperate to go through the hedgerows, the bushes, to find everything to get to pollinate, because that's their job. Suddenly, with them setting massive banquets for these bees, all the bees have gone there, and they've moved all the hives there, and it's easy for the farmers. So that's where the bees are, and the field was just riddled.
This is because they don't want us to grow their own bloody food, isn't it? Bloody hell.
Where they say we're growing, all this bird seed, for the birds, they don't care. What they want to do is divert the bees. I said that's what it's about. So it's about taking the bees from your garden and putting them into the beehive,
and
into
really
the field.
So bloody twisted.
Yes.
Bloody hell. I know we're not really questioning the truth,
and I'll give you an idea, Anna, because I said to the beekeeper, I was like, I can't see it. I haven't seen a bee, a fly, nothing. And he said, come with me. I'm going to walk through there. He said to me, and he said, this is the highest year for production on our hives on record. He said, because they've got so much food, they're generating vast amounts. He said, the swarms this year for hives that are separating and re-swarming, he said, you're getting 4 or 5 calls a week coming in now from people saying, I've got a swarm in the garden, can you come and collect it?
Bloody hell.
So the bees are doing really well. We're just not seeing them.
Do you know what? I said to my husband, right, because I'm into, again, we have a fairly small garden, right? But, it's enough to have chickens and growing stuff. Not as much as at all as I would want to. But last year I said, what do we think? Maybe some bees. I was having a beehive at the front.
Great idea.
It actually crossed my mind. I've been stung by a wasp in the mouth. A couple of years back. It got into my bottle of cider, right? And I'm normally not really scared of things. I don't like them. I don't like buzzing things. I don't mind bees, but because I've been done by the wasp, I kind of dislike the buzzing things, but especially when they bite you in the mouth. And you have potentially allergic reaction, which I do to some bites anyway. So you can imagine me a bit of a thingy. So I'm like, but nonetheless, I'm like, well, why can't we have bees? People have bees, and apparently you see people online. It's you have bees. You put your thing on.
It isn't rocket science. It isn't rocket science. There's loads of beekeeping courses you can go on, and organisations you can belong to learn real quick. I looked at it before. I chose not to do it because we've got a friend who's a really good beekeeper, and he used to bring his hives and sit on our farm. What I was coming back to this bee situation, because it's intrigued me, right?
Right.
So how clever is it to have done that, where, see, how bees work is the first one of the year goes out and finds some food, and he comes back and he says to the hive, as the scout, he comes back and he says, listen guys, this is the coordinates, you go to there, follow me, and they all start going, and he works his way along the hedgerow, and then he's off to find the next one while they clear that up, and he goes to the next hedgerow and they clear that up, and then he says, I found some clover, and they have these scouts what go out and find the pollen for the hive, right?
Yeah.
So what they've done is they've put these vast banquets in place just huge, hundreds of flipping acres of it everywhere now. So the first one that goes out goes, listen, boys, we've had a result. I found a banquet. Can eat as much as we want. We haven't got to go. Just head north on this road, and it's there. You know. Yeah. So what they've done is they've eliminated the necessity to come to your garden.
Yeah.
Even if you had bees in your garden, right? Yeah. Even if you had bees in your garden, they'll always try and find the easiest place to find food.
Yeah.
And I'll guarantee you that isn't your farm. That isn't your garden. If there's a field 2 miles down the road that's got 25 acres of beautiful flowers on it. And that's the problem you've got by putting bees in your own garden.
But
so what I would say is...
to such an extent, though, does it, Mark? To create something to pay farmers £400 per acre or whatever it was to do this, then to stop a average person to grow some stuff. But this is purely down to, I would assume, down to control, isn't it? Down to the
absolutely.
whole agenda in 5 years or 5.5 years now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what, and it's not for anything else. You know, coming back to the point I made earlier, you know, if an industry is worth billions or trillions, you know, across the world, what is it worth to you to control it?
Yeah.
What is it worth? You know, you're not talking about, oh, we're going to gain, you know, you or I might think, oh God, if we can earn an extra £100, what a result. They're looking at this to earn an extra 100 trillion or, you know, whatever it might be worldwide. You know, when you've only got the likes of, you know, let's say BlackRock and Vanguard, let's say, that own most of the companies around the world now are owned by them. So, or they're big shareholders in them. So looking at it now, you can understand why they're prepared to spend such big money on stopping you and I. And you might go, well, yeah, but, you know, I produce, you know, 50 quid's worth of food a year. What difference does it make? It ain't about your £50 worth. It's about it's about the 3 million people that grow £50 worth, who are now not going to grow £50 worth, and now they'll sell you £500 worth because they can charge you what they want because you can't grow your own.
Yeah. Do you know, in America, I have some American subscribers, and I've been told a little while back that apparently that in some states they were thinking or potentially thinking of introducing of like the same thing that we have in the UK here for registering chickens, is to actually register your growing spaces. And like, it's only measured by time. They're going to say how much. And somebody messaged me, and I wasn't aware of this. Again, like as a prepper, we still follow, but could not possibly comprehend or record every single or follow every single thing aspect. You know, I still got obviously the things to do. But apparently, council properties are no longer allowed to have chickens, or council properties no longer allowed to grow their own vegetables. That
is a lot of councils have done that. Yeah.
Go figure.
You see in America, state to state. I mean, there's certain states in in America where you can't collect rainwater, for goodness sake. You know.
Yes, I've seen. Yeah.
You know, that's about control, nothing else.
But how can this stop you? We're here encouraging people like collect your water, so you don't have to pay hundreds of pounds to water your garden. But some Americans say, "Oh yeah, we're not allowed." They're like, "Really? Seriously?" It's like God-given. It's literally a God's-given thing. I'm not religious, but it's God-given. It's come from the sky.
It is.
Maybe have it if I want to, right? How can I say that? Oh, sorry, illegal.
The other side is, Anna, that when you look at all the pollutants that are in the sky that are coming down, do you really want rainwater? Not saying you want tap water. We're fortunate. We've got a well, you know, an 85-meter well, which is down into one of the main reservoirs underground. So for us, that's you know, we're really fortunate. We can water all our plants with that, so we know the water we're giving them is really good quality, no bleach in it, you know. So I think that what we're going to see is the necessity for people to go backwards. And I know, you know, we've had this conversation before. You know, if people are going to have to try and find solutions for these things, and I'm doing a talk tomorrow night, interestingly, in just outside Bury St Edmunds with Richard Vobes, and the whole thing with that is about talking about solutions. You know, we've all talked for years and years about, oh my God, isn't it terrible what's going on for the last 4 years, you know, since the pandemic and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what's the answer? Because that's all what matters now. How do we get out of this? Well, the first thing I think that you'd agree with, people need to start stocking their cupboards. Yeah. That's a big, big thing.
You did your whole video, didn't you? Your last video was about to say you're going to
and interestingly, Anna, I mean, one of the things what would be great is if people on here now, you know, were to put, you know, your followers were to say your subscribers, if they were to say on here, you know, what preps they're doing, because it's great to find out, you know, I was really, really pleased with the response I got, because, you know, I've got a couple of thousand followers on YouTube. And for me, that to say that, you know, I've got 100 people responded saying, oh, Mark, love what you're talking about, but I'm prepping for this. I've put a well in, I've done this, I've done that. You know, I've put up a polytunnel of, you know, since I've been following you, I've done this. It's great. We need to know, because, you know, you make these videos and you kind of, most of the time you're like, well, is anyone even watching it? You know, yeah, I got some likes and I got some, you know, some comments and things, but when you actually say to people, please tell us what, you know, so subscribers who are listening to this now, tell us in the comments below what it is that you're doing to prep for what's coming. You know, if you're following Anna's channel, subscribe so you know what's going on. And, you know, and tell us what you're doing to prepare for all of this, because, you know, whether it's preparing your food, I know you spoke the other day about the dehydration side, someone commented on mine. It's not something what's even on my radar, Anna. It's not something I know about. It's something I'd love to know about, you know. Pickling. I mean, I had the conversation with you about vinegar the other day, you know, because I've started stockpiling vinegar so we can if we need to. And there's all these things that, you know, again, we watched this video, but there's probably, I don't know how many videos you've got, but how many hundred videos have you made, Anna, over time?
About 500 videos, I think, altogether.
Okay, so 500 videos, which all talk about slightly different things, or very, very broad spectrum of things. And there's a lot of people who are new subscribers that might have clicked the button to subscribe, are sitting there going, my God, I didn't know about half of this. You know, how can I do this? And you know, if someone's into prepping properly, they might want to know about preserves. You know, that's something that I need to certainly brush up on, because there's something I know really nothing about. My mum is brilliant at it. You know, but she's 77. I'm conscious that there's going to come a day I can't just hand her the strawberries and say, Mum, turn them into jam. You know, well, how do I do it? Because this now comes down a generation. You know, so for me, it's something I'm conscious of. So it's a massive catalogue you've got there of all this stuff. You know, so I sort of urge people to look through the back catalogue of videos and things as well.
I think I need to separate them slightly into, because I think I've got, when I started, there was a bit vague separation, but I think it's need to be separated more. But generally, people can search on the channel for specific stuff. I pretty much covered everything for stockpiling, how to keep, how to preserve, how to do this, how to stock. It's kind of there, but it's it just is there. We're going to continue bringing up, because the new people are joining, and people obviously nobody could have time to kind of scroll through like 500 videos. So we'll be bringing up. Plus, I learned the same. I'm just a person. I've been doing this for a long time, but things come up, new things come up. I learn things and I research things, like all the milk stuff. I've got another milk on the go, and another one of my current projects is about the appeal, the food coating, and some.
Once it's on, you can't get it off.
Yes, and some other food coating. So I'm kind of looking into this, and I'm going to do the video on that. And maybe we can probably have a chat about this on our next farming chat. Is about really how much actually is actually worth for people to or for whether it's worth covering our food in stuff that is so detrimental to us. Just one thing for everybody who's watching: just have a look at your Jaffa orange. There are two pesticides, one herbicide, and a wax coating on the top. And I bet you bottom dollar they're done in that exact order. So your little wax coating on your orange is covering all the herbicides. So when you wash your orange, you can wash the wax off and your herbicides there. So when you do peel your orange, it's all over your hands and it's in your mouth. So I'm researching the ways. I'm researching the ways of. Sorry.
Go on. No, I was going to say exactly the same, man. You know, you look at these. I mean, obviously, I'm in fruit and veg wholesale trade. That you know, my biggest part of my income comes from wholesale trade, and I know from in that side, if I buy organic lemons, they look crap, right? They do, but they taste beautiful, you know. But then you get the ones that are covered in, whether it's a peel or wax, whatever it might be. You look at them and you think to yourself, like you say, you know, 2 pesticides, herbicides, you know, all of these things which are then sealed in with the wax. So the only place it can go is into the juice, and then we eat it and drink it. And it's like, oh my God, you know, you see people, I've seen chefs, you know, shredding the lemon juice off to make cakes and things. And it's like, whoa, I don't know if I'd be doing that.
No, see, because I dehydrate oranges and lemons, and obviously they're the ones that are really, magnet for the preservation thing.
Sure.
And obviously I've been developing ways, but scrubbing in with certain things, which I'll cover that on a different video. But I've done actually the for my own research, and I've tried to do this for the video, for the camera that people can see, is I've literally soaked the half orange in a certain solution, and I left it literally for a couple of days, and you can see the line where on the naked eye you're just about to see the difference when the wax is washed off, because they say orange, it's a bit more like, you know, like cellulite, more like, you know, ingrained rather than smoothly covered. And within a couple of days the poor little freaking orange was sitting there. You could just see the half that was exposed is getting manky, and it honestly is mind-blowing to see this just in a couple of days. That orange has been sitting in the supermarket for God knows how long, and it's again, not a believer, but God's not designed the orange to sit on a shelf for like 6 months or whatever.
No, well, that, you know, Anna, you've got to understand with all of this stuff that is the whole reason they do it.
Yeah.
You know, they don't care what the outcome on your body is.
No.
What they care is the outcome of their profits by not chucking that fruit and veg away.
Yeah.
So if it's like, you know, the shipping ability to be able to ship, let's say, I mean, from my side, you know, I laughed about this at the time, but we were 6-8 weeks ago, I think we had a conversation the other day, we were shipping carrots in from China.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right? So these carrots looked identical. They looked like Cuban cigars. Everyone looked identical. They were cloned, I'm sure of it. There was no way they were grown. They must have been manufactured somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were made in molds or, you know, grown in molds or something, but everyone was identical. And you look at it and you think, how the hell can they get those from China to here? Right? Even if they're flown, you're talking about days upon days upon days to get them picked, harvested, packed to the airport, to, you know, to internal freight, to get them across the UK, to get them out of Heathrow into Covent Garden or, you know, Spitalfield, wherever, out to the consumers. You know, you see all this, takes bloody weeks. Now, I know all of these are packed in plastic, so the one thing I can absolutely be certain of, they're all got carbon dioxide in them to keep them fresh. Right? I understand that. But if carbon dioxide is so bad for us, why are they putting it in all of our food? You know, so they keep it in there to preserve it because it's the gas of life. We all know that. Yeah. You know.
But certainly you say this about the keeping the carrots and stuff. It's it amazes me every time not amazes me, but pick a carrot. I've grown carrots and radish, the same thing. You know, you buy radishes in the packets, you know, when they're in the season, like 90p or something for handful. Yep. And then you buy them, like you chuck them in the fridge, you have one. They open the packet, they sit in the fridge, they sit there for a week, you pick them up, oh, still crunchy, still great. I pick a blatant radish when I clear my bed, I pick it up, still got the greens attached to this, I put it on the side, I say, I'll come back to you later, love. Sorry, let me just finish my film.
20 minutes later, it's limp.
And it's a bloody limp biscuit, and it's got greenery attached. It's like, this is the point, right? This is the point that people don't understand. That radish in there, it's not freaking real. It's something there. It's honestly the same as with the carrot. It's the same.
We buy radishes in for the wholesale trade, and they might sit in the fridge a month, Anna.
Yeah.
They won't change.
No.
They won't change at all. Yeah. If I pull a bunch of radishes, I guarantee you in 2 days' time I've got to chuck them away if I don't sell them because they're no good whatsoever. They're completely gone. How? Is it because, I don't know if they're hydroponically grown perhaps, so they're just a bucket of water?
Full of water, yeah.
You know, it could be that. And, you know, and our ones where they come off the land or not, I don't know. But I can absolutely assure you, you're right on, bang on the money on that. You know, I know that, you know, from a wholesale point, I can absolutely guarantee we keep them up to a month in the fridge before we sell them.
Yeah. I was almost at the point of like, shall I just bring one? Because I left this poor little thing out there. And I'm like, shall I just do? But I think, again, one of the points is to just make people aware that things up there that we're buying are not, I can't say not good, but they have certainly been treated, because natural vegetables, like you can see from your garden, do not behave.
Absolutely.
This is the same. Carrots, parsnips, any root veg. I peeled up the turnip, and we had this today. I didn't eat it yesterday, but it was wrinkly. It was like, you look like you had your days. If I picked it from supermarket, I thought you were like a couple of months, because it was that wrinkly and sad.
I mean, I don't know if you're aware of this, but every solitary piece of fruit and veg, the reason they pack it in plastic is because it's pumped full of carbon dioxide before it's sealed.
Yeah.
So that's how they keep it fresh. It's not nothing else. You know,
Mm.
everyone goes, oh, I don't want all that packaging at the supermarket. You can't not have it. The
Yeah.
supermarkets can't sell you fruit and veg without packaging.
But
Yeah,
they
you
still
go,
have the
oh,
loose
well,
carrots though, don't they? They still have loose carrots and loose veg, but they're still like, you know, carrots is there and they're still, you know, chunky and hard.
well, they are, but only for a short space of time. Every night they clear the fridges of all that
Mm.
because I used to collect it, so I know whatever's left at the end of the night goes, and it's all fresh
Yeah.
stuff the next day, and it comes in plastic, sealed with carbon dioxide. They put it out on the shelf, but they don't tip it out until the morning, and then it's
Yeah.
fresh for the day. Whatever's left, dump it, get some fresh stuff. That's how
Yeah.
they work. It's
That's
all the
crazy,
carbon
isn't it?
dioxide. Now, I've got nothing against carbon dioxide, don't get me wrong, but
No.
it's all about how they play with it to keep it fresh. You know, people say, when I say that to people, they say, well, that's BS because I've gone into the supermarket and there's, you know, there's apples and oranges and there's cucumbers. None of them are in plastic. Well, no, because they're all covered in a
They're
peel or
coated.
wax. You know, they're all coated in a synthetic plastic you can't see.
Yeah. I'm sorry again. This is our little chats, our little farming chats. This is inspiring me to do this test. So we'll be bringing up. So next week or the week after when we chat, I'll show an example when I can of the remaining of the milk. So I'm doing the test and the vegetables because I clearly see now after a couple of days a difference. And I don't know whether people might assume it's like, well, yeah, that's going to be given, but yeah. Half of the time, right? Sorry, this last point. Just when they do the vegetables, like especially oranges or lemons, you know, the outside they look good, and you cut it open, and it's like could be grey, brown. It's or totally dehydrated inside. That's the whole thing. The deceptive part of it when they coated stuff in. So if your orange go manky when you go to supermarket, you will see it's manky from the outside. When it's coated in the shade, you pick it up and it looks good. You come home, you open it, it's dehydrated or brown inside. It's
Sure.
like because it literally deteriorates because everything created to have a lifespan naturally by nature. Because they put this stuff on the outside, it's still going to go manky inside. Yes, it stops
Absolutely.
oxygen penetrating, but it's still lemon as a lemon. And inside, it's still got the cells that will deteriorate regardless of that. So that's the hard part. And before I wondered, like, why is this orange is like nice on the outside and shite on the inside? Well, that's that. It covered on the outside to make it look pretty. You pick it up and you come home like, oh, that's the way.
I get this in, you know, in the wholesale trying. People say, "Oh, I cut that and it was bad inside." Well, of course it was. Think about it. The poor thing was picked about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You know,
and the same thing. You know, same thing about the eggs as well. They have like, my goodness, scary to tell people that the eggs they're buying on the supermarkets, they give them 3 weeks. They've been in the supermarket backlog or the chain of stuff for about 3 months. Just so for people this, you aware when you buy your eggs with the 3 week shelf life, they've already been in the back for about 3 months.
Yeah.
Sorry to burst the bubble, but that's unfortunately the
and a lot of the eggs what come in from overseas, that's definitely the case. I mean, I've got a farmer, you know, for us, our eggs will be laid tomorrow morning on the farm we use for our eggs for our shop. They'll be laid tomorrow morning. They'll be trayed tomorrow afternoon, boxed. I'll pick them up tomorrow afternoon and they'll be in the shop tomorrow night. That is what you want from your food supply. You know, people say to me, "Oh, how long do the eggs keep?" 3 months. You know, the reality is, you know, that there's that swing and roundabout on everything because, like you're saying, from our side, if I go and pick some broad beans tonight, in 48 hours, they're going to be dead in the shop. I'll have to chuck them away. We'll keep them for seed, but, you know, so, but on the egg side, we win.
Yeah.
You know, but on the fresh produce, we lose. And that's, you know, same way around for the supermarkets, you know, whilst they win on some things because of things like appeal and carbon dioxide, you know, they're not getting that on the things like the eggs because it takes so long to get through the supply chain that, you know, they say, oh, so people are now accepting over the years that eggs last 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, they don't. You know, they last months upon months upon months if they're fresh.
Yeah.
And I think that people have got to really, really start to understand. If people, I don't know if we could perhaps do a like some sort of tip sheet, Anna, maybe that we could put out for people to say, you know, be on the guard for this and this and this and this. Like, you know, this would be a great thing to, you know, an easy thing for people to be able to change is where they buy their eggs, because every farm shop does them, and, you know, and they come from the smaller producers. You know, all of the people that I know what produce eggs have a maximum of whilst one of my friends is a you know, he's got sort of like 30,000 birds. He's still a small producer of eggs. And over the years, you know, I've looked around his facilities. They have huge outside areas for the chickens. They hardly ever leave the sheds.
Yeah.
They're programmed. If they ring the bell I know we're digressing here slightly, but just to give you an idea of how they're played with.
Yeah.
So they ring the bell every 15 minutes. Okay. When they ring the bell, the food drops down the hopper.
Mm-hmm.
So the bird gets to know every 15 minutes the food comes. It doesn't want to miss out on the food. So what does it do? Stays in the shed. It knows if it gets near the door, it might not get to the food in time before everyone's eating it. So it doesn't want to step outside the door. So they have acres and acres of ground outside that they can use, but they daren't go out there in case they miss the feed.
So what's the point? What's the point of doing that from the farmer's point of view?
Well, the farmer's point of view is that, well, one of the problems is if the birds leave the house, so while they're still classed as free range, if the birds leave the house, they might lay the egg on the field. Well, then it's lost.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry.
So what they want to do is keep the birds in the shed. If they don't walk about too far, they don't lose their body weight, so they don't have to feed them as much, so they're cheaper to keep.
Right.
All of this stuff is worked out. You know, when you think over the course of a lifetime of a chicken, you might save 2p on the value of a chicken if it doesn't leave the shed. Yeah. Times some of these farms having 2 million chickens.
Right.
Suddenly 2p becomes a lot of money.
Yeah.
That could be the difference in paying for an extra person's wages. So that's what you're up against when they're farming on such big scale.
Okay. Because my chickens lay eggs within space of an hour. They just go in there, just sit on top of the same egg or the same place, and they just do it within hour or so. They're done. So you think, but I suppose when you've got so many, you can't have a ability to go and pick the eggs from.
One thing I don't know if have you come across an Italian guy called Francesca?
No.
Oh, Anna, you need to interview this guy. If I can give you any knowledge, please interview Francesca. He's amazing. So he's talking about electroculture.
Is it Italian a chicken breeder? Or...
Yeah. So two things he's been teaching me about is one about crystals in the water. So about purifying the water and putting the oxygen back in the water and so forth. And you put crystals in it. If chickens are drinking that water, they lay 2 eggs a day.
Yeah, but that diminishes the chicken's lifespan of eggs
anyway. No. This water, what they do to the water, and it's mind-blowing. I've been going through this. So they use electroculture to charge the water. So the positive electricity, what's going through the water, builds the chickens up. So they lay 2 eggs a day and get stronger as a result of it. It's crazy.
But you say chickens have they say chicken will lay say for example 1,000 eggs in a lifetime because like humans will have eggs. So if she lays them quicker, that she's not going to produce physically anymore. She's just going to lay them quicker and then get retired earlier. No.
They'll produce what they need to produce. It doesn't make any difference. That's what they're saying. So these guys have been working on this stuff and electroculture as well. So I don't know if you know too much about this. So when I first got shown electroculture, it was like, well, you know, you get a copper wire and you wind it around your bean poles and put it into the ground, and it brings the electricity from the atmosphere into the ground and charges the ground, and stuff grows. These guys have got this down to an absolute art. They've built stuff what is like transmitter, right? You know, for drawing the electricity in from the ether into the ground. They know exactly what the ground needs to be in pH and acidity and everything else. So they test all your ground and everything to make sure it's correct. And they put different things on it, you know, whether it's rock salt or silica, whatever it might be, to get the electric to flow through the ground. The results they get, Anna, is, you know, you're talking like suddenly vegetables growing 5 times as big as it used to.
Okay.
Honestly, you've got to see this. Do some research.
None of this kind of stuff affects them.
No. This is the other side, because they're putting the goodness back into the ground. So obviously, when we had our soil tested this year, we were working on 5% goodness in the ground. Yeah. You know, we were dead. The soil was just dead. Now working with them to understand, you know, putting more natural stuff in the ground, and silica especially. Silica is one of the things, because it's a conductor. It brings the electricity in from the atmosphere to recharge the ground, to build up all the bio side of things. it's
Bloody
my.
hell.
You honestly, you need to interview. I'm with him
Okay,
tomorrow
you
night.
gotta message me. Yeah. Message me the thing, we'll
He's
have
a
a look.
must. They're now
Yeah.
launching in the UK for people to get involved in this. And a friend of mine, Andy, is the first person who's testing it over near Attleborough. This is just it's mind blowing.
Wow, I got to watch that. Awesome. Okay, dokie. Well, we kept you long enough. Anyway, I hope you guys. So basically, the point is, we're gonna say people still try to grow. People need to subscribe to, well, both of the channels really, and then try to spread the word. Spread the word
to, around the world.
Around the world, absolutely. And obviously, we're gonna have, as you know, we're gonna be chatting to Mr. Vobes on the 29th, which is, I believe, it's Tuesday.
Fantastic.
Tuesday about 1 p.m. we're doing this, so I know it's a random time, but anyway, so 29th it is. And you send me the link for this, and we're gonna do, well, we'll have a look, see what comes from that. But otherwise, well, hopefully, did you look at any questions we had, guys? Or
I can't see any at all, Anna, on my phone, to be honest, I'm afraid.
I need to go. You obviously got to go. We kept you for longer than.
No, you're fine. If you've got any questions on there, let's answer them now while we're on here. Yeah.
Because also what we could do is at some point, because we've done obviously a few videos, if anybody have any concerns, we can just do like a initially a question answering thing. I think you get a lot of conversations talking between people.
Hey, if they're talking, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it so because otherwise, I could be keeping you there, which is pointless sitting there. So
okay,
next time we'll do. Yeah.
So if you're following tonight and you're watching, please subscribe. Anna, how many people? You're heading up towards 9,000, I see now.
I know. I think I'm like
which is absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm jealous as anything because I've just hit 2,000.
I need 48 people. Come on, if you're 38 watching right now, if you're not subscribed, please do. I'll be so close. And then for you as well.
I think you'll tip over that within a week or so. I think what's happening is we're all gaining momentum talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's getting shared further. It's getting shared wider. More people are talking about it, and that's the reason we're here, Anna, is to just encourage people to get out there and get on with it.
There's a question come through. So I've got ants in raised beds. Yeah, we have ants. So there's an issue with ants right now, isn't it? Or for us anyway. There's the flying ants as well. I would just boil the kettle. I don't know what they do with the ants, to be fair. I have them on the patio and they come in the house. And I put some cinnamon.
I've got to be honest. They're not a friend of mine.
No. They don't really eat crops, do they? They're just there to
They might nibble. Some of them do tend to nibble the leaves on some things, but not overly. They're not a crop attacker. In fact, if you've got green fly, ants will normally clear them off.
Yeah. No, I've got the flying ants. Because we in Wales, there's a specific day for flying ants, believe this or not. Which already got past.
They have an official day out, what?
They bloody do. They appeared in our kitchen last year, not this year, last year. It's suddenly a bunch of bloody ants came up. And they're just nesting. They came through from floorboards, God knows what, like crazy. But apparently it's a flying ant day. We haven't, this year so far, touch wood, we haven't. It's already past the day. But yeah, goodness, anyway.
But everything's behind this year, so just know they're coming.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway, but yes, guys, well, thank you everybody for watching. Mark, yet again, thank you very much for joining the conversation. I'm sure we'll see you in our little farm chat again in a week or so, aren't we?
Look forward to it, Anna. As ever, it's been an absolute pleasure. Yes. Thank you very much, darling.
Thank you, everybody, and we shall see you very, very soon. Okay? Bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.